Swapping Scales for Suave, Chapter 3. Spike looked out of the window of the cab, his gaze pointedly lingering on the buildings that they passed by and not on his own strange reflection. For the countenance he had grown used to was not the one that looked back on him, rather it was the face of his lovers, which he now saw. That fact alone was enough to unnerve the dragon-turned-pony, and he forced himself to face the slack form of himself. The adolescent dragon was sprawled out on the seat across from him, her arms and legs spread wide. It was a sight that Spike wouldn't mind others seeing him in, though he doubted Rarity would have appreciated being sprawled out such as she was. Thankfully, she had yet to wake up from a rather sudden bout of fainting, leaving Spike alone with his thoughts. He hoped it wouldn't be too long before she woke up, as the former dragon doubted that he could carry her without someone's help. He also couldn't figure out how to use her magic either, so if it came right down to it, Spike would have to ask the driver for assistance. Thankfully, that didn't seem like it was going to be necessary, as the dragon's still form began to twitch, her eyes slowly opening.
Oh good, you're awake. I was beginning to worry,
Spike said. The dragon blinked owlishly, and rubbed the corners of her eyes with balled fists. I had the weirdest dream. You were... She stopped and looked down. Oh goodness, I haven't woken up yet.
You have.
Spike quickly stated.
This is no dream, unfortunately.
What happened? Asked Rarity, as she awkwardly attempted to sit upright.
I think the rings are cursed.
Spike stated, tapping the fancy band which was bound tight around the base of his horn.
They can't be removed either, so don't bother.
Rarity tugged on the stubborn ring regardless, trying to remove it from her scaled digit for several seconds before giving up. We were kidding. At least it's not too tight, Rarity remarked.
Thank the stars for small blessings,
Spike murmured. So, who did this? Chrysalis? Sombra? It was Discord, wasn't it? Rarity inquired. Spike shook his head slowly, an awkward blush springing to his features.
It may have been... well, me.
It was now Rarity's turn to blink owlishly. You cursed us? Why?
I didn't mean to!
Spike shouted, throwing his hooves in the air.
I just wanted to find a ring that was worthy of you, so I went to this place that Trixie suggested, which was on Baker Street. Or at least I'm pretty sure that's where I ended up.
You... Rarity's eye twitched and the dragon stopped, placing a hand over her chest.
Are you okay?
Spike inquired. Rarity raised a single, solitary finger, the dragon focusing solely on her breathing for several seconds. Alright then, Rarity murmured in a cold, vaguely sinister tone. Now, you are going to tell me where you found this ring, and how to break this curse, right this minute.
I don't know!
Spike quickly exclaimed, skidding back in his seat.
We are going to this place right now, though. See?
Rarity looked out the window of the taxi carriage to where the dark buildings of Canterlot slowly flitted past them. Most were empty and unlit, few stores remaining open this late in the evening. Fewer still had any patrons left, and most seemed to be in the midst of closing down for the night. They had also neared the mountainside which obscured the moon from sight, leaving them in near-complete darkness. All around them, ponies walked this way and that, with the odd minotaur or griffin visible in the mixed crowd. Though a rare sight in the Pony City, the appearance of immigrants were more common now that they were nearing the poorer area. After staring out the window for several minutes, Rarity frowned, and turned back to the unicorn sitting across from her. Okay, so you went to some strange shop that Trixie mentioned, then what? Rarity asked, leaning forward and peering intently at her lover.
Well, it was raining really hard and it was pretty dark, so I may have gotten a bit mixed up,
Spike reluctantly admitted.
She said that I was supposed to go to the Gilded Hen and to avoid the place that sold Chris stuff.
Rarity sighed and ran a fist down her face. Let me guess, you went to the cursed place, didn't you?
I guess so,
Spike murmured.
It's not my fault though. It was really late and he had rings, so I assumed I was in the right place.
Rarity frowned and rolled her fist in the air. And what happened after that?
Well, I went in there and there was a whole bunch of cool stuff like swords and armor and junk,
Spike continued.
But then he brought me to the back of his store where there was this long counter area, and that's where I saw the rings and knew that they were perfect.
Well, they are rather nice, Rarity admitted, the dragon wiping the edge of her lips where a small trickle of drool had dribbled from. Surprisingly tasty looking as well.
I know, right?
Spike replied with a grin.
Apparently the gems grow back after a while too, so I really had to resist snacking on one of them after I got it.
So... Rarity murmured, tearing her eyes from the ring. Did he say anything spooky or ominous while you were there?
Why would he do that?
Spike retorted.
Oh, you know how it is, Spike. These ponies and other creatures are always saying something vague like, you will enjoy this until the end of your days, right after selling you some gum that lasts a week but will also kill you in 6 days.
Rarity answered. Spike blanched, the unicorn glancing nervously up at his horn.
You don't think that's what's gonna happen to us, do you?
I don't know, Spike. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Rarity shouted. Spike winced.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I mean, he asked if I wanted it gift wrapped, and he said something about the rings being called the Bands of Mutual Love.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Rarity murmured with a sigh.
So what else did he say?
He mentioned that they would allow the wearers to see just how much the wearers cared for one another.
Spike answered, his eyes slowly widening.
Oh, now I get it.
Rarity just shook her head.
Oh, you're lucky you're so damn cute because you can be a real bonehead sometimes.
Only when it comes to love.
Spike countered, and Rarity smiled faintly.
True.
The carriage came to an abrupt stop, prompting both parties to sit upright in their seats and look out the window.
This looks like the place.
Spike murmured.
But I can't be certain.
Well, let's start by looking for this gilded hen thing and go from there.
Rarity offered, and Spike nodded.
Right, allow me.
The unicorn hopped off of his seat and walked over to the door, which he tried to open with his hooves, only to fail.
Come on, you stupid thing.
He murmured, as he tugged on the simple latch.
It wasn't that hard before.
Stop thinking about it so much.
Rarity remarked, only to sigh when Spike continued to push his hoof against the exit in a futile attempt to open it.
Just let me handle this.
Hold on, I almost got it.
Spike murmured, even as he continued to fail. The dragon then stood awkwardly on all fours and reached past her failing partner in order to push open the exit. Though Spike seemed irritated that he couldn't manage it on his own, the unicorn kept those feelings to himself. Only for those same feelings to return a second after he took his first step outside, and tumbled face first down the steps.
Spike, are you okay?
Asked the dragon, who clumsily followed after her partner and nearly landed on her own face in the process. Spike groaned.
I forgot how awkward walking on all fours is.
You all right back there?
Shouted the masculine voice of the taxi puller.
We're fine. We just had a bit of an accident.
Rarity called out.
You are fine, right?
I think so.
Murmured Spike, who pushed his way into a stand and gave himself a once-over.
Everything feels like it's in the right place.
Oh, darling, your eye.
Spike exclaimed, pointing a fist at the right side of the unicorn's face. Spike blinked and touched his face only to wince.
Ouch, that stings. I guess I hit the ground a little harder than I thought.
Rarity tisked.
That is going to take so much foundation to cover up. I sure hope it doesn't turn into a black eye.
That would suck. Whatever. At least we're here, right?
Spike asked, gesturing to the open street lined with shops.
I suppose, though we should probably pay for a ride.
Rarity retorted.
You did bring my bit bag with us, right?
Yeah. I think I left it on the taxi.
Spike replied. Rarity slipped back inside the carriage and returned a moment later, a brown bag in her mouth.
Alright,
She exclaimed. Spike rolled his eyes.
Just use your hands.
Rarity spat the bag onto the ground.
but it feels so weird.
We have to at least get into the store, which means that you'll need to turn the knob.
Spike pointed out.
Trust me, I ain't enjoying this digitalless existence much either.
Rarity sighed.
Fine, but I shall walk on all fours for now.
You look so ridiculous.
Spike pointed out.
I know I can get away with that because of my long arms, but it's just undignified.
Well, until I've grown used to having fingers and you not having them, then I guess we both will seem rather silly now, won't we?
Rarity replied.
Everything all right back there? I got places to be, you know.
Shouted the voice.
Coming!
Rarity exclaimed, before grabbing the bag and trundling away. Spike watched on as the former unicorn awkwardly did her best to pay the taxi stallion in an expedient manner. Though she attempted that small feat relatively easily, she also dropped all of the bits on the ground. This led to a rather embarrassing but thankfully brief interaction where the stallion unhooked himself and picked up the pieces for a blushing Rarity. A minute later and the dragon had returned, the bag tied limply around one arm.
You will not say anything.
Rarity exclaimed. Spike made a zipping motion over his mouth with a hoof.
Good.
Rarity sighed.
Now then, where are we going?
This way, I think.
Spike replied, pointing down the road.
There's a yellow sign up there that looks like the right place.
Which means the wrong place is right there as well.
Rarity said.
Indeed.
Spike murmured. The pair turned and walked down the street, making their way towards a sign which Spike found vaguely familiar. However, it was still a bit of a walk, and the longer they continued on in silence, the more strained things became.
I'm sorry about blowing up at you back there.
Rarity whispered.
These feelings of yours are just So strong and so strange.
Spike sighed.
It's fine. I'd be pretty pissed at you too if you had done something like this.
Well, we'll get through this.
Rarity stated, flashing her lover a brief sidelong glance.
I know things seem rather unpleasant right now, but compared to all the other adventures that we've had over the years, this is hardly even worthy of freaking out over.
You remember our first anniversary?
Spike asked, smirking at the dragon, and said dragon chuckled.
How could I ever forget? Who would have thought a simple airship ride would turn into a month-long excursion through the Badlands?
Spike giggled.
Oh, I don't know. It should have been a pretty easy guess since it turned out Trixie was the one providing the entertainment.
Rarity sighed, and shook her head.
That mare just can't seem to resist the urge to grandstand.
Well, at least the balloon exploding after getting hit by that Roman candle looked pretty cool.
Spike pointed out.
Oh, if by cool you mean utterly terrifying.
Rarity countered, grinning all the while. It's good to see that they're not entirely pissed at each other. It's already a great path on trying to find the solution. Anyways, let's get on to our knowledgeable donators. Top donators TacoCat598, Peter Coulthard, J Tinman, Darkside, Gauntlet, and Only One Thing. Zar630, Strix, Rayden, Narwhals, Black Moonheart, Drake Lovedragon, Pastel Skies, Dospo, Madman Stan, Delta Omega, Jack Hadge, Runescythe9852, Hunter Norman, Dash of Evergreen, Riney Dragonwolf, Ponyman, Tall Rasha, The Toilet Snake, Sword Brother and Mordred, Ronin Wandering, Random Person Man Guy, Easy, Skyochia, Leslie Prickett, Jordan Peterson, Crimson Kitten A9, Lightskin, Monster Kitty, Tim Bob, Needs a Life, and plenty more unstoppable people. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and live life to the fullest.